2020. A submersible from the Ocean Explorer drifts into the sunless depths of the Gulf. Cameras broadcast the usual wasteland. Gray silt, sluggish worms, and salt-crusted crabs. Standard procedure. Total silence. Then the drone drops further, and the control room freezes. A lake appears. A real, shimmering lake with a defined shoreline and a mirror-flat surface. Ripples expand as the drone touches the water. A sea within the sea. Liquid inside liquid. An oily visible border separates the two, like vinegar in a dressing. The banks crawl with life. Any fish crossing that threshold emerges dead. Or it never emerges at all. It is a brine pool, a phenomenon that defies every intuition about how our oceans function. To understand this impossibility, we must revisit basic physics. Water is supposed to mix. We take it as fact. Pour a glass into a bucket, and the two become one instantly. Rivers vanish into the sea for this reason. There are no walls, no layers, no borders. But density breaks the rules. If the weight difference is vast, fluids refuse to merge. They collide but stay separate, forming a permanent, haunting boundary. This is the brine pool. This water is 5 times saltier than the ocean. It is impossibly, lethally heavy. This liquid lead sinks, pooling into a stagnant, alien layer. Where does this salt originate? The search led researchers to a terrifying discovery about our planet's prehistoric past. 25 million years ago, a smaller Atlantic Ocean saw its basins isolated and trapped. Under a brutal tropical sun, these closed seas began to bake and evaporate. They vanished. What remained were colossal skeletal layers of pure, concentrated salt. Mile-thick slabs of minerals were eventually buried deep beneath the Earth's heavy sediment. In the Gulf, these salt layers reach 8 kilometers deep, taller than Mount Everest. Under immense pressure, the salt flows like honey, erupting through fissures in the rock. When it touches the seabed, it dissolves, birthing a heavy, toxic brine that never leaves. It fills every crater and crack, forming lakes that endure for thousands of years. Some pools formed over 100,000 years. They are ancient, patient, and growing. Like a debt that is never paid, they accumulate. These salt domes never truly stop. Moving millimeters every year, they ensure the ocean floor remains a shifting, liquid puzzle. Lakes expand and merge. The landscape is transforming right now, hidden from our eyes. The process is too slow for humans to notice. The first was found in the 1960s. It was labeled a fluke, a geological glitch in the Red Sea that meant nothing. No one suspected these death traps were scattered across the global abyss. Decades passed before advanced technology revealed the systematic truth. They are everywhere. From the Mediterranean to the Black Sea, the deep is scarred by these pools. Some are mere puddles. Others are vast, uncharted territories of the unknown. Lake Asaw spans kilometers, plunging 200 meters deep into the ocean's own floor. The chemistry is where it gets truly disturbing. This isn't just salt water. These pools boil with methane, hydrogen sulfide, and lethal concentrations of heavy metals. Temperatures hit 70 degrees Celsius, not from volcanoes, but from trapped geothermal energy. Zero oxygen. In this stagnant soup, life as we know it should be impossible. They are the jacuzzis of despair. To most creatures, this water is an instant coffin. A fish entering the brine dies in minutes. Crabs emerge stunned, if they emerge at all. Cameras capture boneyards along the banks, graveyards for the curious and the lost. Yet, against all logic, something survives here. this is the most chilling part. At the thin, toxic threshold where brine meets sea, a specialized ecosystem thrives. Mussels and tube worms huddle at the edge, feeding on the very poison that kills everything else. Life gathers here in concentrations that defy logic, far surpassing the barren deep sea floor. A haunting paradox. The closer you get to this lethal abyss, the more existence explodes. Methane and hydrogen sulfide fuel the engine. Microbes feast on these toxins, feeding every other creature. Positioning is everything. The closer to the source, the richer the banquet. These shores are deep-sea oases, vibrant islands of existence adrift in a nutrient-starved midnight void. What powers this frenzy? Not the sun. At these depths, light is a forgotten memory. The secret hides within the brine's chemistry. At the liquid border, a violent molecular dance begins between methane and sulfur. Bacteria harvest this toxic mix, extracting chemical power where solar rays cannot reach. We call this chemosynthesis, the bedrock of a food web where predators hunt in the total dark. An entire world thriving without a single photon. This discovery shattered our core understanding of where life belongs. Before we mapped these alien ecosystems, the scientific dogma was absolute and unchallenged. We thought all life needed the sun. These brine lakes proved us dead wrong. Existence thrives in crushing pressure and total darkness, within water that would melt most organisms. This revelation turned brine pools into a blueprint for hunting life beyond our own world. Astrobiologists now look toward the moons of the outer giants with renewed, desperate hope. Europa, Jupiter's frozen sentinel, likely hides a massive liquid ocean beneath miles of ice. Saturn's Enceladus screams into the void, ejecting geysers laced with water and organic building blocks. Both worlds are starved of solar warmth. But if life can conquer the abyss here, if these chemical fires burn in the Gulf of Mexico, why not under the ice of Europa? Researchers claim these deep-sea pits hold secrets that span the entire solar system, far beyond oceanography. Every strange microbe found here redraws the map of what we call habitable. It makes the cosmos feel a little less lonely, at least in theory. But back to the deep mysteries. The brine pools hold riddles we cannot solve. The first is a haunting question of time. By measuring salt decay, we find some pools are mere infants, just a few thousand years old. Others have stared into the darkness for tens of millennia. Strangely, their chemical signatures fluctuate wildly. Periods of explosive growth followed by eerie, stagnant stillness. What pulls the strings? Tectonic shifts? Subterranean pressure? Or some unknown seismic rhythm? Silence is the only answer. Inside that toxic, oxygen-free soup, life does not just wait, it thrives. These are the extremophiles, beings that treat our nightmares as their cradle. Many belong to the archaea, an ancient lineage from the very dawn of biology. Their chemistry is so alien, studying them is like analyzing a different draft of creation. Some perform the impossible, surviving in an environment effectively devoid of accessible water. The salt concentration is so high, every water molecule is trapped in a chemical prison. Their cells use specialized molecular armor to resist the crushing thirst of the brine. They have mastered survival in a medium that constantly tries to suck them dry. It is a high-stakes biochemical war, revealing the sheer tenacity of the living cell. Beyond the biology, these pools serve a darker, more practical purpose as natural traps. They are the ultimate vaults. Anything that falls into a brine lake stays there forever. In this toxic, oxygen-free tomb, the usual rot and decay simply stop. Organic matter remains preserved for millennia. These pools are the ocean's greatest archives. They hold a pristine record of the deep past, far clearer than any mud sample ever could. In 1990, massive brine lakes were mapped 3 kilometers deep in the Mediterranean. The Red Sea's Atlantis II and the L'Atalante Basin are perfect, stagnant cauldrons of salt. The isolation is so absolute, we found organic fragments thousands of years old inside them. It is like finding a jar of preserves from the Bronze Age, still fresh and untouched. So, what happens when a human vessel finally breaks the surface of these underwater lakes? This isn't just theory. Multiple teams have crossed that line. The probe dives. Cameras hit thick, ghostly fog. Light scatters. The surface shimmers like heat. Total refraction. Light bending between two alien fluids of clashing densities. Submerged, vision clears. A new world appears. A floor of gold crystals. Total silence. No motion. The brine is too heavy for any current. Time flows differently here. The 2020 discovery reignited a global obsession. Found by Ocean Explorer, it was 5 meters wide. Small. Perfectly preserved. Banks choked with life. Mussels. Tube worms. Yet the pool remains glass still. A razor-sharp border. Scientists spent hours measuring the toxic, boiling chemistry. The footage exploded online. Millions watched, unable to reconcile this with reality. A lake within an ocean. Life on the shore. Death on the surface. One haunting detail remains unspoken. It sits on the edge of the inexplicable. What are we seeing? What is life's nature? This is the Rapano threshold, the ultimate ecotone, a transition zone between two clashing, hostile worlds. These zones are richer. Forest edges beat the woods. The coast beats the abyss. Brine pools are extreme. Two worlds. One kills, the other sustains life. At the touch point, life peaks. Proximity to death makes existence more intense. Biomass here dwarfs the surrounding floor. It is several times denser than the deep. More organisms, more species. The lethal brine does not repel life. It commands it. It is a magnet. Brine is energy. The boundary is where power ignites. A chemical engine. The concentration gap drives this entire biological machine. These pools hide the secret of our fuel. Oil and gas deposits. These salt layers aren't just salt. They are nature's perfect hydrocarbon traps. Oil migrates until it hits a wall. Salt is that impenetrable barrier. This is why the Gulf is wealthy. It is riddled with salt domes. Oil giants mapped these for decades, unaware they were documenting alien nurseries. A dark tension exists. We have pumped oil here for 50 years. Pipes lace these pools. The 2010 disaster hit this exact zone. Yet, until recently, no one studied the impact on these hidden worlds. Scientific knowledge trailed behind industrial hunger. We knew profit, not the planet. Studying these lakes of despair is a technical war. The brine eats metal. It chokes sensors and blinds cameras in minutes. Sampling requires armored steel. You must trap the deep's crush inside. Otherwise, gases explode outward. The sample loses its soul instantly. Growing these microbes in a lab? Impossible. Our air is too thin. Our atmosphere is poison to them. Most species exist only as DNA codes. We know them by ghosts. But technology is finally catching up. Autonomous drones now hover for hours, stalking the brine's frozen surface. Monitoring stations now sit on those lethal banks for months on end. They track every shift, solving riddles a single ship never could. These pools prove Earth still hides monsters, even in well-known places. The Gulf isn't a wilderness. It's an industrial hub, mapped and trodden. Pipelines everywhere. Yet in 2020, we found something that silenced every expert. The ocean covers 70% of Earth, 4 kilometers of crushing darkness. We mapped the surface. We touched the edge. But the rest? Unseen, lurking in the abyss. We've mapped barely 5%. The rest? Pure, uncharted shadow. A silent wilderness beneath the waves. Brine pools are proof. They weren't in some remote abyss. We found them in the Gulf of Mexico. Busy, crowded, mapped. Yet entire alien worlds, governed by their own laws, stayed invisible until a lens finally dropped deep enough. How many exist? No one knows. That's not drama. That is a cold, scientific fact. Current finds are just happy accidents, random footage. No one is truly hunting for them. No master catalog exists. No map. Experts can only whisper about the true scale. These pools are a tiny sliver of reality. How many remain? We can only wonder. There is a deeper truth in these saltwater graveyards. Something that shatters our rigid theories. The world is more complex than our models. Where we expect uniformity, nature builds frontiers. Hidden borders, alien realms. Life thriving where every law says it should be impossible. The greatest mysteries aren't in deep space. They're right beneath the keel of a passing ship, crossing that same dark water for the 100th time, unaware of the void below.